Hello, everyone. This is Max Saunders, MA Money Merge Account Program Introduction, and I will be your host for today. I think we can all agree that we are in dire situations here in America and Canada when it comes to our finances, to our debt. Debt, obviously, is at an all-time high. We've never had debt like this as national debt, and we need some solutions. We need to be looking in a different direction. You know, Albert Einstein made a very cute observation when he said that insanity was doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I think all of us can relate to that type of insanity when we say, you know, we want to lose weight or we want to get in better shape or, you know, this year is going to be different. We're going to save money. We're going to be able to have money to go on a vacation. We're not going to live paycheck to paycheck. And then every year we seem to be duplicating these same situations, the same conversations, writing out the same information on budgets, and just not seeming to get moving forward. And it always perplexed me why that is. And I think it relates to the next quote that Albert Einstein stated, which is that we cannot change problems or solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created those problems. We need a new introduction of information. We need solutions and tools. Do you ever feel like you're this guy going nowhere fast? Well, the United States public debt as of April 18, 2011 was $14 trillion. I can't even imagine that number. I went online and looked it up. If you just want to get an idea of what this is, go online and you can actually look up what $1 million looks like in $100 bills, what $1 billion looks like, and then look at what $1 trillion looks like. And it is just, it's a number that I can't even relate to. I'm just wondering in the next few years, with the debt continuing to rise, are we just going to have to make up a number? I mean, we're already at $1 trillion. Is the next number going to be 14 gazillion dollars in debt? To me, that is how ridiculous and how out of hand this has become. But, you know, we as consumers, we do have a very strong power. And one of the strongest powers that we have is the power of purchase. And what I mean by that is we have been conditioned to believe that we can have it today and pay for it later. Every man, woman, and child currently with $46,000 worth of debt. Taking control of our finances is essential at this time in our nation's history and Canada's history. It is time for the American and Canadian people to stand up and basically say, you know what, we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to keep financing things the way we've been doing them in the past. We're going to take control of our finances. We're going to get ourselves out of debt. I don't know how many of you really relate this, but when you are in debt, you are a slave to that debt. Just a idea I'd like to give you to think about here just a little bit. If let's say you make $10 an hour, and let's say you go and buy a $30,000 automobile. Now, first off, if you're making $10 an hour, I don't suggest you buy a $30,000 automobile, but I want to give you an analogy here that I think you can relate to. If I make $10 an hour and I go to purchase a $30,000 automobile, most people think I'm signing a contract for $30,000 and finance, but I would like you to think about it this way. If you make $10 an hour, you buy a $30,000 automobile, what you have just done is you have just signed away 3,000 hours of man hours of labor, of your labor, to whatever company it is you purchased that automobile from. At $10 an hour, $30,000 relates to 3,000 hours of work, and that doesn't even include the interest that would be tacked on. I think mindset change, paradigm shift is essential that people understand, look, when you buy something on finance, you're not just signing a contract for money, you're signing a contract for time. You're signing a contract as an indentured servant, as, I don't know any other word, as a slave to that particular lender for that amount of time. $30,000 car, 3,000 hours of labor plus interest. Make you kind of take another look at that $30,000 automobile, don't you think? What we're going to do is I'm going to take a look at one of the concepts of the MA Money Merge Account program. Now, there's 4 basic strategies with the MA Money Merge Account program, and one of those strategies that we're going to center in on today is called interest cancellation. But to take a look at interest cancellation, what we want to do is we want to take a look at a standardized mortgage. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. If we have a $200,000 mortgage and that's at 6% interest, I have a monthly payment of $1,199.10. I'm bringing up the 10 cents, but I left it off of here just to keep round numbers on the presentation. If that was a 360-month loan and we made every payment on time, we would pay back $431,677 in total repayment. That means we borrowed $200,000 and we're going to pay back $231,677 in interest alone. In other words, we're going to pay back more in interest than what it was we actually borrowed. Now, if we move forward, let's take a look at the amortization schedule. John and Rebecca on that $200,000 mortgage, if they make their first payment, $199.10 goes to principal and $1,000 goes to interest. If you do the math there, that's about 83 cents to the dollar is going directly to interest, and we consider this normal. I mean, this is a 6% loan, but it is called a closed-end, fully amortized loan. And what that basically means is, yes, it is calculated at 6%, but it's calculated at 6% on closed-end interest with an amortization schedule. So what we find out with this type of loan is the bulk of the interest is paid right at the very beginning of this loan within the first 5 to 7 years. We also understand that we can pay money into this loan, but we cannot take money out. This loan moves too slowly. We don't have a lot of control over this type of loan, and that's what we're going to show you with the MA Money Merge Account program, is how to take control of this type of loan and save yourself money and time in a very accelerated fashion. If we move to month 2, we can see the principal contribution increased by $1. We now have $200.10 going to principal. Let's take a look at year 1 and look at the columns that say equity and paid. In year 1, I've paid in $14,000 in total payments, but I've only paid off $2,400 of the balance. Now, year 5 poses a very unusual situation. Surveys were done, and banking, lending institutions came to realize that the average consumer sells their home, moves, or refinances every 5 to 7 years. Is it any wonder that the bulk of the interest paid on this type of loan is paid in that first 5 to 7 years? In year 5 on this loan, I've paid in $71,000, almost $72,000 in total payments, but I've only paid off $13,000 of the balance. Now, at this point, if I decide my credit cards have gotten out of whack, or I need some cash out to refinance a basement, or whatever that looks like, I decide to refinance that loan. What we have done is we've already paid $58,005 of interest by year 5. If we go back and refinance this loan, really what we're doing is hitting the restart button. We're taking this loan back to 30 years, and we can say that $58,000 was just thrown away, or what we could say is over the last 5 years, we rented our house at a tune of $58,005 over 5 years if we pull that refinance button on year 5. Now, I'm not saying there's not a time to refinance. I'm not saying there's not a place in the market for that. I'm just saying that these paradigm shifts, the way that we view our money, the way that we view finance, the way that we view ownership must change. We need new information. We cannot continue to practice insanity here in America and Canada. We have to get on with it and get over this hump and get ourselves to a place of ownership, and get ourselves to a place of true asset, and get ourselves to a place of a future that is filled with abundance and hope. Year 10, look at this. I've paid in $143, but only paid off $32,000. And in year 21, I've almost hit the halfway point in my loan. I've paid in $300,947, and I'm almost at the halfway position in equity. I have $99,436 of equity. Now, many of you look at this and wonder, well, why is it? Let me tell you, this should upset you. If you are currently buying a home, this should make you angry. This should upset you. This is how much money you're going to put out there to buy a home, to be a part of the American dream, which is to own a home. We think this is normal. I say it's something that we can definitely do differently, something we can take advantage of, and we do not have to do business this way any longer. The concept of interest cancellation. Okay, we went through the mortgage, we went through the amortization schedule. Now let's look at interest cancellation. Let's say we took that $200,000 mortgage and we made our first payment in the amount of $1,199.10. Let's say we added $5,000 of our own money to that loan, And right now, I'm not so much concerned about where the $5,000 is coming from. I'm just giving you the concept that if you made that first payment in the amount of $1,199 and then added $5,000 to it, making your first payment to this loan in the amount of $6,199 with $5,199.10 applied to principal. Here's what we know. You can apply any additional amount to principal by the agreement that is on what is called your note when you purchased your home. And this note agreement states that you can pay any additional amount towards principal so long as two things have been satisfied. One, that you are current and up to date with that month's standard scheduled mortgage payment. And two, any monies you want to apply to principal, that you notify the lender in writing. Now, there are a lot of different mortgages between Canada and the United States that have unusual stipulations, like you can only make principal contribution one time during the year, or you can only make two principal contributions during the course of the year, that you cannot pay more than 20% of the principal balance off in any calendar year. And the list goes on and on and on, but I want to assure you, regardless of what the configuration is of your current mortgage, the MA Money March Account program is designed to be able to handle your mortgage. So I get a lot of questions, will it work with this kind of mortgage, will it work with that kind of mortgage? Let's set the record straight. The MA Money March Account program will work with any mortgage product. Does not matter where it's from, does not matter whose it is. Right now we're doing business in the United States and Canada. And for the mortgages that are in the United States and Canada, the Money March Account program has been designed to accommodate those mortgages that are written differently, as well as your standard conventional mortgages. Now, one other thing I want to let you know is I use a mortgage example because I think most people can relate to the amount of money we spend when we take out a mortgage. But I do want you to understand that the MA Money March Account program will work on any debt. I have people that have farm loans, just standard land loans where there is no structure, where they're purchasing the property, like for a summer retreat. I have people that have investment properties, that have second homes. I have people that have small business buildings that are on the Money March Account program. There's nonprofits on the Money March Account program. So I want to let you know that the MA Money March Account program works with any and all debt. Let's just look at what our mantra, our mission statement is, and that is to change the global financial landscape by buying America and Canada back, one family at a time. Let me say that again. This is our mission, to change the global financial landscape by buying America and Canada back, one family at a time. That is the mission that we are on. Now, if I do this and I apply this $5,000 to principal along with my regular payment, what happens is we did not reconfigure the loan. We still have the exact same loan. What's happened is we paid off $5,000 of the principal. We're still contracted at 6%, and we're still contracted with a monthly payment of $1,199.10. By banking regulation on the $200,000 mortgage and our amortization schedule, after we make that payment, we should have 359 payments remaining after we make a regular scheduled payment. In this case, because we applied $5,000 and reduced the principal by $5,000, when we make our next payment of $1,199.10, we will only have 337 months remaining on this loan. What I mean is, by continuing to pay the payment of $1,199.10, we will have the entire loan and interest paid off in 337 months. The original amount of interest I was supposed to pay back was $231,677. Under this configuration, with the $5,000 applied to principal, we will now only pay back $203,373. That's a net savings of $28,304. Let's back the $5,000 out we applied to principal, and that's a net savings of $23,304. Now, what I want to draw to your attention here is this is a reality. This is not what we think will occur. This is how the amortization schedule will clock out on this $200,000 mortgage. So here's the thought that I have for you. If you had $5,000 sitting in a savings account, what type of savings account or savings vehicle would that need to be? How big would the interest rate need to be? And how long would that money have to sit to give you back $23,304 of interest earned? Now, I did say that correctly, of interest earned. The reason I say that is, look, right now you're obligated to pay back $231,677. If I could show you a way to decrease that obligation to $203,373, the first thing I want to say is, number one, did I increase or decrease the risk on this loan? And obviously the answer is the loan risk has been decreased. Secondarily, if I'm earning money at 1%, 2%, 3%, 4% in a savings vehicle, but I'm paying interest at a rate of 6, 7, 8, 9%, am I actually earning any interest on the money that I have in savings, or am I forfeiting the money that I'm earning in savings for the interest that I'm paying on that 6% loan? And the answer to that question is you are forfeiting your interest for the money you're paying on that 6% loan. So if I can mitigate the risk by reducing my amount of interest paid back by $28,304, could we also say, since I was under contract for $231,677, that that's the exact same thing as me earning $28,304 of interest back? What are your thoughts on that? See, this again is part of that paradigm shift. The way that we need to get people to start doing their finances is just because you can afford the monthly payment. Just because you signed a contract doesn't mean that you're secure. It doesn't mean that you're using your money in the best fashion possible. So let's move forward here and take another look. Let's look at interest cancellation in one other avenue. You all understand what I just went through, but this is an idea of interest cancellation that I would be willing to bet that every single one of you on this call has experienced or utilized at one time or another. We have our major credit card. We go out for a shopping spree and we spend $500. We get the bill in the mail. What is it that we try to do when we get this bill in the mail every month? That's absolutely correct. If you pay your Visa bill in full at the end of the month, you don't pay interest. So we try to pay it all so we don't pay interest. By doing this, what we've done is we've just used the lender's money interest-free for 25 to 30 days. In other words, we leveraged their money. We got it interest-free by paying off the balance, and what we did was we canceled interest. Now, here's the thought I would have you look at, or the point I'd like to make here. Where did you learn how to cancel interest? I can tell you it was not Capital One or Chase or Visa or MasterCard that told you that you could do that. I will promise you it was not them. As a matter of fact, over the last 2 years, the credit card companies have been trying to change the laws so the interest float doesn't run for 25 to 30 days. It only runs from 20 to 24 days, so you're always paying some interest on that credit card money. So far, that has not gone through. They did change it from a 31-day float to a 25 to 30-day float, which caught a couple people with a couple days of interest. But at the end of the day, every one of you, at one time or another, has used this strategy and knows that it works. This is a strategy that is built directly into the Money Merge Account program. You can actually set up your Money Merge Account program so you have one credit card that you utilize for all of your expenses, whether they be personal or business. That way your money, your paychecks, can sit in your savings account or sit against other balances while you're not using that money. And you're actually using the bank's money, floating the bank's money for your living expenses and things of that nature throughout the course of the month. And if you have a major credit card that has something like Sky Miles or Awards Points, not only at the end of the month will you get better activity out of your funds, will you get better utilization out of your money by using the concept of interest cancellation and interest float, but when you pay the balance off at the end of the month, you'll get your Sky Miles, Awards Points, and you'll reap those benefits as well. So I wanted everybody to see that when we start talking about new technology, talking about new concepts and new ideas, that really it's just a matter of educating people and showing them what is out there and available, and showing them that this is rooted in very sound mathematics, very sound finance and banking strategies. Everything we do with the MA Money Merge Account program uses banking instruments that have been on the market for the last 5 to 6 decades. We do not tell you to invest in certain stocks or portfolios or things of that nature. We show you how to pay off your debt using the banking instruments that are already there, that are already in place, like money market accounts, savings accounts, checking accounts, lines of credit, things of that nature. We are not soliciting for mortgage refinance. We are not soliciting for lines of credit. We do not offer them of any kind. We are not soliciting for credit cards. We are not soliciting for anything other than the Money Merge Account program is the most aggressive financial GPS that has ever been created. It is the only financial GPS of its kind on the market today, and it is without a doubt the most aggressive debt elimination tool that has ever been offered, and that is what we offer through MA Capital Resources, is the MA Money Merge Account program. Well, the good news is with everything we just told you, it's not too late to track a new course with the first financial GPS of its kind, and that would be the MA Money Merge Account program. Now, we're going to go into a demonstration here in just a moment, and I'm going to show you the product in real time, moving through the product, how it operates, how it calculates. But let's just take a moment and let's talk about a financial GPS. Well, what most of you will relate to is a standard navigational GPS. So let's ask this question. Why is it that the standard navigational GPS, like the Garmin GPS or the one you get in your Hertz rental car, the one you have on the telephone, or the one that you paid a couple $1,000s to have it as a added option to your vehicle, why is it that a standard GPS has pretty much made the paper map obsolete? We have to calculate our new route. We have to tell it where we're going, and we have to ask directions and hope that we get directions that correlate to the map to get us back on track. Well, we will spend, just to have that convenience, anywhere from $250 to $3,500 to have a GPS system just to make it easier for us to drive our car and get back and forth to the kids' softball game or the barbecue or whatever it is that we wanted to go to. Okay, financial GPS. So what would relate to a paper map when it comes to finances? Well, a paper map is static. It's just a flat view of what has been and where you currently are. That's all a paper map is. Well, I would relate that to every other debt reduction product on the market today. I've had people come out and say, Macwell, we'd really like you to go and take every debt reduction product on the market and do a comparison between the Money Merge Account program and those debt reduction programs. Well, if you go and Google debt reduction, debt elimination, debt acceleration, you're going to find a couple hundred companies out there that say they do what we do. And I know it's already going to start tallying up here on my screen. What about Mint.com? What about Money Desktop? What about Algorithm? What? No, none of them have what we have unequivocally. Every single one of those programs on the market today can tell you where you've been. It can tell you where you are today. It cannot tell you where you're headed in the future. It cannot forecast for you. It cannot recalculate your route automatically. Okay? So if we look at that navigational GPS, not only does it why it's so important to us is not only does it make it easier for us to drive, it takes away the stress, it does the work for us, it gives us step-by-step instructions, it tells us how many miles we're going to have to travel, it tells us when we're going to arrive, how much time it's going to take. It will notify us of road closures, of bottlenecks, of toll roads, freeways, side roads, whatever it is. So it makes our journey simple. And if we get discombobulated with the navigational GPS, miss the turn, we're talking, whatever, what does the navigational GPS do? It comes on and says recalculating route. It doesn't make us pull to the side of the road. It doesn't make us ask directions. It doesn't make us try to figure out our route the antiquated way. It says, okay, it's cool, it's a hiccup, you missed your turn off, just keep driving up the road, take the next turn off, take the next legal U-turn, we're going to get you back on track. So, paper map and the navigational GPS, the idea behind the navigational GPS is to help us find the quickest mathematical solution, and it is mathematical when you're dealing with global positioning. The idea of the navigational GPS is to help us find the quickest mathematical solution to get from point A to point B. Point A being where we're starting, point B where it is we'd like to go. Okay, financial GPS. Its counterpart would be the spreadsheets, as I talked about, Excel spreadsheets, Microsoft Money, Quicken. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Money Desktop, Mint.com. I could just keep rattling them. None of them have what we have. They are all the comparison of that static spreadsheet, the comparison of the paper roadmap. You have to tell all of those programs what you are willing to do, how you are willing to alter your life, how you are willing to shave money out of certain areas, stop spending in certain areas to help bolster your future for retirement and to get out of debt. If anything occurs out of the ordinary in your normal financial life, a standardized budgeting system, a standardized static system, a standardized system like Microsoft Money or Quicken or or Money Desktop or Mint.com or the Dave Ramsey program. I mean, they're all out there. They make you do the work and do the calculations. If you get something off financially, you have to go back in with pencil and paper. You have to go back in and figure out, okay, where can I cut my spending? How am I going to make this money up that I lost? You have to physically calculate your route, tell it what you want to do and where you want to go. Well, the good news is the first financial GPS of its kind does not necessitate you doing that. The only thing, as you will see when I get into the demo with the Money Merge Account program, is you have to tell it how much money is coming into the door and the source of that money, when that money comes in, how much it is, the intervals, and how much money is going out the door. The intervals it goes out the door, what's debts it's being paid to, and payments and things of that nature, your basic information. The beauty of the MA Money Merge Account program is once you give it all of that information, just like you would give to a navigational GPS, the system takes over and says, okay, if you want to get from point A, which is all of the debt that you currently have, to point B, which is Debt Freedom Avenue, which is I Have No Debt Lane, which is Zero Debt Street, then I will get you from point A to point B in the quickest mathematical solution to get you from all of your debt at point A to no debt at point B. Now, the beauty of our system is not only does it do that in the confines of what you are currently doing. Our system doesn't necessitate you sit down and go, okay, well, I'll stop going out to dinner so much, so that's an extra $50 I can put into discretionary income, and I'll stop going out to concerts as much, and that'll be another $25 I can put there, and I'll stop buying coffee out on the road and start making my coffee at home, and that'll be another $57 a month. No, that's not what the system is about, and that's what I need people to really understand about this system. When an independent agent of MA Capital Resources tells you that they want to run a free analysis for you to show you what the Money Merge Account program will do for you, it is exactly that, 100% free. They do not need your Social Security number. They do not need your birth date. They do not need your account numbers. They just need to know how much and when the money is coming in the door and how much and when the money is going out the door. What our system has made its hallmark in and its greatest success is us telling people simply this: you tell us exactly what you are doing today, no alterations to that, exactly how much you're paying to your bills, exactly how much money is coming in the door, exactly what's left over at the end of the month. Let us run an analysis for you based on that situation, and we will show you with no change in your current financial situation, no change in income, no change in distribution, no change in your bill pay strategy, no change in your bank accounts whatsoever. Tell us what you're doing today, and we will show you what the Money Merge Account program can do for you tomorrow just by incorporating this simple, easy-to-follow program. See, one of the biggest problems with budgets today, and I'd like everybody to write this down, there's two big problems with budgets today. And we've been hearing consumerists rattle their sabers for the last 30 years about don't overspend, live within your budget, eat rice and beans, drive the old LeBaron, take extra cash. That's nonsense. Nobody wants to live like that. And that's why we don't have success paying off debt, because most people do not live like that and will not live like that. It's like the guy or the gal the first time they said, you know, for my New Year's resolution, I am going to lose weight. And they join the gym, and they go to the gym, and they get a trainer, and they go through 2 classes with that trainer, and all of a sudden they realize they walk out the door, and they go, you know what, that's a lot of work, and I have to follow that program. I'm out. They keep paying the gym membership, and they stop going. So what are the 2 biggest problems with budgets? Well, there's a couple, but the 2 biggest is, number one, we have to lie to them, and we lie to them all the time. Just because we put down on paper we're not going to spend as much money eating out dinner, do we honestly believe that that's going to keep us from going out to dinner? Just because we write down on paper that we're not going to spend as much money in entertainment, if somebody comes to town that we just absolutely have to see, are you telling me because we wrote down on paper we're spending less money on entertainment that we're going to spend less money there? See, the problem with a budget is you have to follow it. It is not interactive. It is static. It's nothing but numbers on a sheet of paper. The problem with all the other programs on the market today is they are static. They are flat, like numbers on a sheet of paper. They are not interactive. They are not living. They are not breathing. They are not working with the consumer to help them get out of debt. They are just showing the consumer where they have had small success or they have failed. What is the beauty of the MA Money Merge Account program? Well, number one, with our program, you absolutely must tell it the truth. There's a nice break. Instead of lying to our budget all the time, we now have one that wants us to tell it the truth so it knows what's going on. The second thing is, our program follows you. You don't follow the program. And we're going to see that in the demonstration. What the MA Money Merge Account program has done is made navigating today's financial landscape as simple as point and click with the mouse and following a set of prompts. What is our software telling us? Well, it tells us how much money to move, the exact dollar amount. It tells us when to move it, the exact date. It tells us from what account to what account, the most efficient accounts to help us find the quickest mathematical solution to zero debt. That is what the program is designed to do. That is what it has always done. And we're going to jump into the demo here so you can see the system in action as we speak. I'm logging into the system right now. Alrighty, can everybody see my screen up there? And my screen should show 9.3 years and 68,000. Looking at is the MA Money Merge Account program. If you were a prospective client looking at this for the first time, this is what you would actually receive through MA Capital Resources for the purchase of the MA Money Merge Account program. What I am using here is a demo account. Okay, so what we're looking about at this front section right here is called the action plan or plan of action, things to be done. This is your default page, and your action plan always puts out what our client would be typically doing over the course of 3 months. And as you can see here, it always lays it out 3 months in advance, as we can see here. Okay. Now, we talked about this being a financial GPS, so let's look at our pieces that relate to our GPS. Okay, a GPS tells us how many miles we're going to have to travel to get to our end destination. Well, this section right up here, this section that says interest remaining, I like to relate this to 68,000 miles of interest we're going to have to travel, or 68,000 miles we're going to have to travel. We're going to have to go through some nonsense. We're going to have to pay some money to come out on the other side, and that other side is coming out with zero debt. This section here I like to relate to when we're going to arrive, the time that it's going to take us to do so. In the bottom of most GPS it says you will arrive in 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it looks like. This is telling us to go from all of the debt that we currently have to zero debt. It will take us 9.3 years to arrive there. The other thing that a GPS does verbally as well as visually gives us step-by-step turning instructions, exactly what we're supposed to do to stay on course to arrive in 9.3 years and 68,000 miles of interest. These items right here, these red arrowed items that you see, these are called funds transfers. These are automatically generated by the program, and these are our step-by-step turning instructions. What the software is looking at is the current debt that we have. This is the first month that we've opened up the program. Client is just getting on the program, and what the software is doing is it's looking at their overall picture and it's giving them directions their first month. So let's look at their picture real quick. Bob and Mary, John and Rebecca, we haven't really centered what name we're going to use yet, but if I float back and forth between Bob and Mary and John and Rebecca, I hope you all will give me a pass. We're talking about the same people. In their accounts right now, Bob and Mary want to pay off a $25,000 auto loan. They want to pay off their $2,000 Visa. If you notice, the interest rate is 21% on the Visa. They want to pay off this $200,000 mortgage with a 6% interest rate, and they want to pay off their home equity line of credit with an 8.6% interest rate. If we notice, we have $13,000 available on Visa. We have $56,000 available on a home equity line of credit. And in their checking account, they currently have $500, and in savings, they have $5,138.89. These are the accounts they're operating with. These are the ones they want to pay off. These are their checking and savings accounts that they're utilizing. Their current budgeting situation shows that they make about $5,000 a month, which we can see right here, and they spend over $4,000 a month. What the software is telling our client is that if they follow the step-by-step instructions that are listed here with the red arrows, they will pay all of that debt to zero, not just the mortgage, but the mortgage, the Visa, the home equity line of credit, and the car loan. They will pay all of it to zero. They will only pay back $68,000 of interest. That is all of those accounts combined. They will only pay back $68,000 of interest, and they will be able to do all of this in 9.3 years. Now, something I'd like to draw to your attention, if you noticed in their accounts, they have that $200,000 mortgage with 6% interest and a monthly payment of $1,199.10. If we recall, John and Rebecca Jones were supposed to pay back $231,677 in interest alone just on that mortgage if they made every payment on time for 30 years. The Money Merge Account program that we are looking at here has incorporated that particular mortgage and is saying with that mortgage included, given that Bob and Mary spend make about $5,000 a month, spend over $4,000 a month, and want to pay off all those debts, they're going to be able to accomplish that in 9.3 years and only pay back $68,000 of future interest. Now, if you truly believed that our program can do what we say, this should be very, very exciting to you. I know the first time that I saw this, I was a bit of a skeptic, but the idea, the concept hit me. I understood what the concept was. I was skeptical that somebody had actually been able to figure it out. And I got to tell you, the first couple months that I used this program, all I was trying to do was break it. I was convinced that nobody could show me something about finance that I had already known. There was no way to pay a mortgage off in that accelerated fashion unless you're extremely wealthy or had some type of trust fund to draw on. I was firmly convinced in the first 3 months that I could break this program, and lo and behold, here I am since 2005. We're talking 6 years later, almost 7 years later, that I'm still working with this program. I have greater belief in this program today than I did back in 2005. But I'm telling you something, it only took me being on this program for about 2 to 3 months. And after about my third month of being on this program and seeing how the money was moving, seeing what was happening, seeing what I was doing in my life, how I was living my life and my standard of living, yet I was paying off debt. That sold me. I was done because what I knew was this did not come down to how much discipline I had. This came down to just following a system, just following step-by-step instructions. Okay, so let's take a look at this. The way that we're going to phrase this in the last 20 minutes is we're going to say that John and Rebecca Jones, Bob and Mary, they sat down, they decided to have a conversation. They are not on the Money Merge Account program. They did it on paper. They sat down with their Excel spreadsheet, with their abacus, with their accounting paper and calculator, whatever program they found that they thought was cheaper and better. And they went to work and they decided, you know what, by looking at all of our numbers, what we've decided is we're going to send an extra $100 to our mortgage every single month because we don't really know how that'll turn out, but we know it'll pay off quicker and we want to get out of debt quicker. And we're going to send an extra $100 to savings every month because we want to start bolstering our savings account. Now, that's all fine and good done on paper, but what I want to do is say, okay, this is what they did on paper. And then what I'm going to say is, okay, here are a couple scenarios that would come up for people that were doing budgets on paper, just standard living scenarios. I don't try to take these out of the box to anything grandiose. I try to use scenarios that everybody can identify, that everybody could say, yeah, that could happen, or that may have happened, or it may have actually happened to you at one time or another. And what I want to show you is by them doing it on paper, by them doing it using a static system, I want to show you what they've encountered as a difficulty. I want to discuss what it is that they would have to do and what the results of that would be. And then I want to show you if they had our system, how easy it would be to accommodate that particular scenario. So the first one I want to talk about is Bob walks into work. Bob's expecting to pick up a $1,300 paycheck, walks in, boss hands him his paycheck, and his boss says, you know what, Bob, we're expecting a couple deals to clear. We'll say Bob does commission work like construction work or something like that. We're waiting for a couple of your deals to clear, Bob. And the checks just didn't come in. The deals didn't clear. And for today's paycheck, you're going to pick up $1. All right. Now, I want to ask this question on open mic to everybody that is out there. Here's the question. Bob and Mary had sat down and written out this budget just a couple nights before. An extra $100 to the mortgage and an extra $100 is going to go to savings. He walks into work and realizes he's getting a $1 paycheck. He's just lost $1,299 of income in a month that he only makes $5,000. Now, we remember they make $5,000, they spend over $4,000. So here's what I want to ask you. Can we agree that by Bob losing that $1,299, that at this moment Bob has no discretionary income for the month of July? Would you all agree with that? And the answer to that question is obviously yes, he has no discretionary income. He's actually dipped into the money he needs to pay his bills by about $300. Because remember, they spend over $4,000 a month. So if he's lost $1,299, he's lost about $300 of the money he needs just to pay his regular bills. The second thing I think we can assume is any money that they were intending to send to the mortgage or any money they were intending to send to savings, can we all agree that at the very least that plan of action has been put on hold if it's on paper? Would everybody agree with that as well? Okay, so we can say at the very least their discretionary income is gone for the month, and whatever plans they had to send $100 to the mortgage and $100 to savings have now been put on hold. Okay, so whatever it was they put together, what we understand right now is if they were on paper, they're going to have to pull that budget back out. They're going to have to pull out the pencil again in the calculator and the abacus, and they're going to have to tell that program, they're going to have to tell that budget, where are they going to come up with that additional money that they just lost. Now, remember, they've got $56,000 available on a line of credit. They've got $15,000 available on a Visa, and they got $5,000 available in savings. Now, do you think the discussion may actually go something like this? Who is it that we are not going to pay this month? We're $1,200 upside down. Or do you think it would be, honey, do you think we ought to take that $1,200 out of savings so we can go ahead and have the money we need to pay our mortgage payment and all that stuff? Or do you think it might even go here? You know, we have room on that Visa. Why don't we do a cash out on the Visa just so we can pay the mortgage payment? And I know I have commissions coming, so we can later in the month take the money and pay it to the Visa and pay that balance off. Why would that conversation even ensue? Well, the reason I've seen that conversation ensue is people would say, well, we only have $5,000 in savings. The emotional or scared or biased side of us says, you know, I don't know what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. I think we should sit on that $5,000. Well, let's pull the money out of somewhere else and then pay that money back. Here's what we know. It has created a lot of stress for them. They have to do the work. They have to recalculate their route. They have to figure out where they're going to pull the money from. They have to figure out possibly who's not getting paid this month. They have to figure out how they're going to put food on the table. The last thing they are worried about right now is sending any extra money to a debt. What they're worried about is just how are we going to get through the month. Everybody in agreement with that? Let's look how easy the software is. We're going to say this is our final transaction. We got $1. I want everybody to realize we have 9.3 years to pay off. We have $68,000 in future interest. We can all see that, 9.3 years, $68,000 in future interest. And we have a funds transfer telling us to take $2,000 out of savings, pay it to the Visa, take $1,033 out of savings, pay it to the home equity line, and then down here on the 15th it says if everything goes to plan, I'm going to have you put $841 back into savings. So let's see how the system operates through this scenario. We execute this particular action. We go here and change his dollar amount to $1. We're going to say this is the final transaction, and we're going to execute this, and let's see what the effect is. Now, we already know that Bob and Mary are under stress if they were doing it on paper. Let's see what the software says. Well, the software took us from $68,000 to $69,000, so it added about $1,000 of future interest to our payoff by losing that $1,299. If you notice, it did not add $1,299. Everything is in a ratio here. It added the proportion of interest that related to that $1,299 paycheck being applied to debt. So it added about $1,005 of future interest. But look what happened here. It created a brand new line item. And this brand new line item is telling us to take money out of savings, put it in checking. See, the software realized he only had $500 in checking. He just lost a paycheck, and then he did not have enough money to pay his mortgage payment. So rather than sit down, like I said in the scenario, and say, well, should we pull that money off the Visa? Should we pull it off the equity line of credit? Should we pull it out of savings? That equation has already been answered for them immediately. Look, your smartest thing to do is take the money out of savings so you can pay your mortgage payment. We'll concentrate on getting that money back into savings. Okay, does that make sense, how that relieved the stress? It also showed us that this is a hiccup. The amount of time it's going to take us to pay off didn't even change. We stayed at 9.3 years because the software is not looking at the emotional bias decision today, the fear-based decision today. What it's looking at is this situation has occurred and we have 9.3 years to correct it. This is a hiccup in the scheme of what's going to go on. But here's the one I really want to draw to your attention. Where in the world of reality, if Bob and Mary were doing this on paper, would they realize if they just missed a $1,299 paycheck and a $5,000 earning month, that they could still send $2,035 from their savings account over to their Visa, and oh yeah, by the way, and send $613 out of savings over to the HELOC? See, this is what the software is doing, is the software is looking at these accounts and it's saying, look, I know in your savings account you are doing great. I mean, you're earning 4.35%, and if you're a consumer on the phone and you've got some type of savings vehicle earning 4.35%, you're probably pretty darn happy about that. But here's what the software is saying is mathematically, let's look at it mathematically, let's take the emotion out of it, let's take the bias out of it. Mathematically, you may be earning 4.35% on this $5,100, but you're paying 21% on your Visa and you're paying 8.6% on your HELOC, and you've got payments that you're making on both of these accounts, and you're paying interest because these payments are just your minimums. It's going to take you on a regular schedule 22 years to pay off this Visa and to pay off this home equity line of credit. What the software is saying is that is not mathematically sound for you. Let's get those debts paid off. We'll have time to put money in savings. Let's get those debts paid off. See, the other thing I don't think a lot of people realize is they say, well, Mac, if I use my savings money and I pay off this Visa, what happens if I need that savings account money? Well, I hate to say this, but you were using your Visa there before. If you get yourself in that broad of a pinch, you still now have all the money available on the Visa because you paid it off, and you'll have all the money available on the line of credit because it's paid off. Does that make sense to everybody? What it's doing is it's removing the emotional, biased, fear-based decision from a very mathematical equation. All right, let's take another look at one. If people earn more money, they typically do what? What is the response to that? If we earn more money, we typically, absolutely correct, thank you, spend more money. And that is the case. But let me ask you this. Let's say that Rebecca's been working for the same retailer, Mary, I'm sorry, has been working for the same retailer for 15 years, all right? Now, this is a scenario that I love to give to CPAs, accountants, tax guys, the very intricate, detail-minded, especially the ones that say, oh, Mac, I could do something like this on my own. Oh, Mac, I've seen a program that does this. Oh, Mac, I've got some spreadsheets worked out for myself, and I've got a strategy to get out of debt, and it'll do what your program does. For those people, here is the scenario that I like to give them. I say this to them. I say, all right, we have a client that makes about $5,000 a month, spends over $4,000 a month, okay? We're all aware of that. That is their current income strategy, all right? They currently want to pay off these current debts, which are their auto loan, their Visa, their mortgage, and their HELOC. Now, looking at all of these debts collectively and looking at all of their income collectively, our program tells our client they will pay everything off in 9.3 years, and all of those accounts combined, they will only pay back $68,000 of total interest. So here is my scenario for you, Mr. CPA, accountant, tax guy, financial planner. Mary walks into work. Boss tells her, we're going to move you from an hourly employee to a salary employee. You are going to go from semi-monthly paid to bi-weekly paid. Now I'm just going to tell you all, semi-monthly is 24 paychecks a year, bi-weekly is 26 paychecks a year. So if she goes from semi-monthly to bi-weekly, she picks up 2 extra paychecks right off the top for that. We're also going to promote you to supervisor and give you a pay raise of $10.18 per paycheck. Okay, that's the scenario. Same retailer, 15 years, goes from semi-monthly to bi-weekly pay, and gets a pay raise of $10.18 per paycheck. Now, here are the questions that I want you to ask for the answers from your CPA, tax guy, accountant, financial planner, whoever he is. Number one, if Rebecca or Mary were to apply this small pay raise to debt elimination, to her debt elimination solution, because you've already told me you have something similar to this, that you can do this on your own. Here's my question. If she took that pay raise and gave it to a program for debt elimination, or gave it to you, Mr. CPA tax guy, so you can designate where that money goes to help her get out of debt, here are the questions I need to ask. Number one, how many years, if she applies that money, will it take off of her total debt? If she applies that pay raise, how many years will it take off her debt? Number two, if she applies that pay raise to debt elimination, how much total interest will it remove from her overall equation? And number three is, what would be the minimum increase to her average monthly income? And what would be the minimum increase to her average discretionary income? Ready, go. Now, I hope that all of you are sitting there going, there is not a financial planner out there that can answer all those questions, because first off, they're not going to have this situation. There's not a financial planner out there, tax guy, CPA, there's not a mint.com, there is not a Microsoft Money, there is not a Dave Ramsey out there that can tell people based on their current situation how many years it's going to take them to pay off and how much interest they're going to pay in total if they follow the system. It does not exist. So asking the CPA, accountant, tax guy for these two questions, how many years will it take off of our total equation and how much interest, you've already got them there, because they don't have an equation. They don't know how long it's going to take them right now to pay off all their debt. They don't know how much interest they're going to pay in the overall to pay off all their debt. The ones they'll have the best chance of answering is how much will it add to her discretionary income and how much will it add to her overall median monthly income. Now, let me show you how easy it is for John and Rebecca. We know that John and Rebecca, Bob and Mary, that if they make more money, they typically spend more money. If it was on paper, they'd probably just realize they could live a little looser, whatever that looks like. But let me show you exactly what the software does to us. What we would do is we'd go to Mary's paycheck, we would edit, we would bring up Mary, we would click her over to bi-weekly, which the software now realizes, this is a great month to show you, that there's certain months she's going to pick up 3 paychecks. She's going to get one here in July on the 1st, one on the 15th, and one on the 29th. That's what I mean by going bi-weekly. We typically will pick up 2 extra paychecks per year. So she's going to pick up the 1st. We're going to say it's a paycheck. Now we're going to give her a pay raise of $10.18. Is everybody tracking with me? Does that look realistic? Watch how quickly we get it. Remember, we're at 99.3 years, 68,000, and we have 3 funds transfers in the month of July. Let's save this information. And 9.3 years becomes 8.3. $69,800 of interest becomes $61,000. Okay, first couple questions. The average increase to monthly income, they go to $5,214.57 a month. So it increased their income by about $214.57. If you remember, they had a little over $800 in discretionary income. They now have $1,129.63 in discretionary income, and they can view this in the program. Everything that I am doing here, the client can do, the client can see, the client can view. Let's see what's happened to the action plan. If we look at the action plan, do you remember that moving from savings into checking? That is gone because it realizes Mary is going to get a $1,200 paycheck. She can make her mortgage payment. I don't know if you all realize this. When it told us to take money from savings and pay it to Visa down here on the 15th, it told us to spend $2,035 to the Visa. Now it's showing $2,000 even. The reason that was is at the 1st of July, the Visa has not accrued its interest for payoff, so we can pay it at $2,000 and pay it off. By the 15th of the month, the way the software is set up understanding this Visa, it's saying that you will already have your $35 payment due on your $2,000 Visa, so you need to pay that payment as well. So that's why it had a balance of $2,035. But look what the software did. That small pay raise took 1 year off of our total equation to pay off debt. How many of you would have thought it would have impacted that by a year? Look at this. That small amount of income took almost $9,000 of future interest off the table. It's still telling us to send money to the Visa, pay it off. It's telling us to send money from savings to the home equity line and pay a portion of that off. And again, it's helping us replenish our savings. Look, a lot of people, when they go out and purchase things, they purchase them based off of, can we afford the monthly payment? And we're going to say to Bob and Mary, John and Rebecca, you know, they've had a stressed out month. They sat down on paper, they put everything down, they thought they had a budget they could work with. They came up $1,200 light, stressed them out, had to figure out where they were going to pull the money from, who they weren't going to pay, had to go through conversations, maybe even argument running through that. Then Mary got the small pay raise. They're like, wow, that's cool, but you know, it's really not that much money, but good job, Mary. And so Bob and Mary are sitting there having another conversation. They say, you know, we're just so stressed out. And so we need a vacation. We need to get away. We need something to get out some of these yayas. So they go looking at ATVs and stuff like this, and they realize that they could buy 2 ATVs and go out and blow off the steam, and they can throw that on their Visa. Yeah, I know that sounds ridiculous. And they can have a pretty small monthly payment, one that they can currently afford. Now, that does mean they had to go back and look at their budget if they decided to do this. Now, in doing this, what Bob and Mary's response was, you know what, Mary, we didn't have the money we needed to put that 100 in savings towards a mortgage. You know, why don't we just enjoy the way we're living? Let's get these ATVs, and we'll still put 100 in savings, but we're not going to put 100 towards the mortgage anymore. I'd rather have these ATVs so we can go out and enjoy ourselves. Now, they did the math. They looked at it. And look, I'm telling you, this is not a smart decision. I'm not saying this is what I would do. I'm just trying to give you a parity because I see this every day dealing in the arena I do, that people, what they can justify in their minds to eliminate stress blows me away, because in my mind, what they're getting ready to do is just going to create more stress. So they go out and buy the ATVs. They decide that was a good decision for them. They can afford the payment. They're not really aware of the far-reaching consequences of that decision. If they had the money merge account program, let me show you what they would be able to do. We have 3 funds transfers here. We're supposed to pay off in 8.3 years, and we're supposed to pay back only $61,671 in future interest. All right, here's what they can do. They can ask the software a question like a forecasting, like a projection. And what we're going to do is add a new action. We're going to say this is a withdrawal. And we're going to take this money out of the Visa, and we're going to say this was for ATV purchase. And we're going to do this purchase in July, so we can see that up here on our action plan. We're going to do that purchase, and it's for $8,000 worth of ATVs. And I'm just going to select the category. You always have to have a category. I'm just going to use entertainment for this one. Okay? So this is their purchase. Here's what I want you to see. 8.3 years and $61,000. They already knew they could afford the payment. They already looked at their numbers and said, yeah, we can afford to do this. Let's see what the global impact would have been for them doing this. If we save it, we'll see the line item populate here. 8.3 goes to 9.1, and 61,000 goes to $79,000 of future interest. We can see this right here. I want to show you this feature called True Cost. If I click on True Cost, look what appears below the $8,000. See, this is what the software is actually telling us. The software is saying, look, you can go ahead and buy your $8,000 ATVs. You're going to give $8,000 to Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki, whoever it is, and you're going to give $16,895.93 of interest back to the bank that you had already canceled had you not made this purchase. See, what it's doing is giving them a relationship of that buying globally to their entire financial picture. Let me ask you this. Do you think if they had this tool and they were thinking about going and buying those ATVs, do you think being able to load it in a software system like this and see the result of that $8,000 purchase is actually going to add $16,800 of future interest, and it's going to take it from 8.3 years to 9.1 years, do you think it would make them reconsider the purchase of those ATVs? Or at least give them a more informed decision about making. Let's take it the other direction. Let's make it positive. Let's say that $8,000 is an absolutely must-have, like the engine blew up in the only car you have, and you have to have it to go to work, or it's family, somebody passed away, and you've got to travel cross-country. Whatever it looks like, it's an absolutely must-do, must-have. Well, let me ask you this. Even though you can see here that it's adding $16,000, you're making a more informed decision, because here's what I see. Before Bob and Mary got on this program, they had 30 years just to pay off their mortgage. Bob and Mary on this program, losing a paycheck, getting a small pay raise, buying $8,000 ATVs or engine for the car, or going to visit the relative they know is not going to be around much longer, are still able to do all of that and pay everything off in 9.1 years. It looks to me like there's still 20.9 years to the good. They've still saved 20.9 years on their total debt, and they've still saved well over $168,000 of future interest. That's what this potential interest saved is, okay? So I hope that makes sense to everybody, but let's look at this from one other context, and that context would be everything we've talked about is debt elimination. Everything we have talked about is taking away the stress. Everything that we have talked about is that technology has finally caught up to personal finance, and it's technology that can be trusted, just like your navigational GPS. It will eliminate the stress, and it will make your navigation easier of today's landscape. And it is built with the banking strategies already in place and have been used by the banking and lending industries for the past 6 to 7 decades. Okay, what if I told you this could also help you accumulate wealth? Well, here's the last thing I want to show you. If I go into settings and go into my preferences, what I can do with the software is say, look, I want to pay off debt, but I also want to accumulate wealth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my emergency fund, and I'm going to ask the software right now this question. I want to pay off my debt, and I want you to help me save $500,000. So what I am asking the software right now is, look, I'm okay with 9.1 years to pay off all my debt, but I'd like to pay off all my debt and have $500,000 in savings. I'm asking a forecasting question of the software. What does it look like in time and interest paid for me to save $500,000 and pay off all my debt? All I have to do is hit save. Let's go back to our action plan, and we have 9.1 years and $79,000 of interest. 9.1 years and $79,000 of interest now becomes 21.4 years and $226,000 of interest. I only have the potential now of saving $21,656 of interest. What just happened here? Well, let's look at it from two sides. Remember I mentioned to you that if you have money in a savings account, even if you're earning something as whopping as 4.35%, but you're paying on a mortgage at 6%, a Visa at 21%, and a home equity line of credit at 8%, then any money you are earning in savings, you are actually forfeiting for the money that you are paying in interest. And that's what this equation is showing you. Look, I had you without saving the $500,000, everything would have been paid off in 9.1 years. Okay? For you to save $500,000 and pay it off, it's going to take you an additional, what is that, like 11, 12 years. It's going to take you an additional 12 years to be able to pay off the debt and save $500,000. And on top of that, I had you all the way down at $79,000 of future interest. You're now at $226,000 of future interest. That's an addition of over $160,000 of future interest. So let's think about that for just a second. What the program is actually telling us is you can go ahead and do that, but if you think you're saving $500,000, you're actually only saving about $270,000. If you see this amount of interest we're paying out, if I'm paying out $226,000 of interest and I just saved $500,000, that means about half of the $500 I just saved, I just forfeited in interest I'm going to have to pay because I prolonged the amount of time it's going to take me to pay off my debt by almost 12 years and change. But let's look at it the other way. Before Bob and Mary, John and Rebecca got on this program, they had 30 years just to pay off a mortgage. Now they've got a mortgage paid off, a home equity line of credit paid off, a Visa paid off, a car loan paid off, $500,000 in the bank, a new purchase of an $8,000 ATV, and they're going to be able to accomplish all of that in 21.4 years. To me, this was the exciting aspects of this program to me. The fact that this program would do the work for me, the fact that this program would allow me to understand better how our systems operated in the banking systems, how money moved, how money truly operated, how money was truly affected. Also, the fact that it made a lot of decisions for me. All I had to do was ask it questions, and it could come back and give me the product of those questions, which made it very easy for me to make a decision. Also, it took a lot of the stress out of my financial situations. Let me tell you, if you're married and you have kids, finances are stressful nowadays in a household. The whole idea, I mean, just living in a household is stressful. But in today's economy, we need to have as many solutions and options and opportunities available to us to help manage our households and manage our debt. As of April 20th, 2010, we've changed our customers' lives with over $455 million in principal pay down. All you have to gain is financial freedom. Achieving your financial goals begins with debt elimination. Let the MA Capital Resources representative who introduced you to our powerful solution run a free analysis for you. Again, I'm going to tell you that analysis is 100% free of charge. You do not have to give them your social security number. You do not have to give them your birth date. You do not have to give anyone account numbers. This is set up so that we can look at what you are currently doing today and show you a brighter future tomorrow using the MA Money Merge Account program, a future of prosperity, hope, and abundance. This is Max Saunders saying thank you very much for joining us today.